Hey, Oz.
Hey, Curtis.
What movie we watching this week?
This week we're watching a movie marriage consisting of Critters, Alien, and Gremlins 2. This week we're watching 1984's Gremlins.
a little on the nose there.
Well, it's not like Gremlins 2 wasn't self-aware. So
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, you make a good point.
I actually was showering this morning, and I was like, I need a third part of my movie marriage, and I was really scrambling because I figured kind of like Critters and Alien kind of nailed it. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, what the heck? Gremlins 2.
Yeah, you make a good point with how self-aware it is.
It's very self-aware. So, you've got fourth wall breaks and Hulk Hogan and and you could even if you could even argue that you could splice the Key and Peele Gremlins 2 sketch into Gremlins 2 and it wouldn't change the narrative. And so
the Gremlins 2 is a spoof of Gremlins 1.
Yeah. And so it was a little cart before the horse, but I think it fits here. So
Gremlins it fits 2 completely. Well done, my friend.
All right, welcome back to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the podcast where we take a monthly theme and weekly contributions to satisfy said theme. I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
I'm the other host, Curtis.
And before we jump into characters, it is my plot this week, so I've got the breakdown. But
we got a new month. New month.
We do. Oh yeah, it is. These things just keep rolling by. It is a new month. Welcome to December, everybody. We are kicking off the final month of 2022 before we get back into the hodgepodge of non-holiday related months in 2023.
Yep.
And what is our theme this month?
This month's theme is it a Christmas movie?
Yeah, is it? So
is it a Christmas movie?
I think after the 3, 2, 1s, this month especially, we rounded out with answering that question.
Yes.
If we feel it is or is not a Christmas movie, and maybe a short little explanation as to why.
Yes.
But yeah, so this month for sure is it a Christmas movie? There's reasons why you could argue, and there's reasons why you could argue against, and so. We'll make sure, and just to do the whole YouTube thing, comment down below if your thoughts on whether you feel the movie that we're talking about in this particular week, Gremlins, is or is not a Christmas movie, and why. We'd love to hear your insight. So before we get going, though, we do want to give out a shout out to Patreon subscribers Don S and Melissa L, and our 2 new Patreon subscribers, Aaron A. and Mandy K.
Yay! New Patreons!
I'm excited because, if we could double our Patreon subscribers every 58 episodes, we're going to be rolling in it.
So once we get to episode 116, we'll be at 8.
Yeah. Right. We'll be rolling right into retirement.
Yep, there we go.
Sweet nest egg of $76 a month.
Hey.
So so welcome to the Patreon list, and thank you Aaron A and Mandy K, and as always Don S and Melissa L for your patronage. So boy, this is really going to lengthen the show.
That really genuinely warmed my heart when you sent me that text the other day.
I know, it was awesome. Yeah, because Aaron A hit us up on Facebook. She's like, "How can I become a patron to this delightful podcast?" So I shared the link, and she goes, "You got yourself a new subscriber." And then and then I got an email, later that day that Mandy K is a subscriber, and she's a tier 2 subscriber, so she gets access to the bonus episodes.
Yep, she gets
that we now have to start recording.
Additional content.
Yeah. Don't be afraid, ladies and gentlemen and fans of the show. Don't be afraid of being a patron. Yes, we kind of joke that Melissa L has been a tier 2 Patreon for a very long time, and we've yet to record one single monthly bonus episode for her. But she gets other. She gets the ability to watch the movies with you. So
yes,
that's the red carpet treatment of patrons.
That's the gentleman's agreement that we have.
Yeah. And so so she gets she gets the one-on-one bonus episodes,
Mhm.
with half of our of our hosting here. So, but no, we will start rolling them out. So, Melissa L, consider yourself warned. You got bonus episodes coming. Mandy K, welcome to the tier, and Aaron and Don S. If you guys, if you want to chip in a little more to reach yourself tier 2 status, then you also get access to those bonus episodes. We kind of talked a little bit. What are we thinking as a format for our bonus episodes?
We chatted a little bit about this, and I think we're still kind of nailing it down. But the random pop culture generator, in which we will basically hit randomize, and topics will pop up, and whatever that topic is, you and I will just dive into right there on the spot.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, no pretense.
Yes, very spontaneous. No scripting, no notes. We hit the randomize button, and we see what comes up, and
we just talk,
yeah.
because that's what you and I are good at, is just talking to each other about random stuff. So
I could talk or not talk for hours.
Forever, right? One of our favorite things to do. So, all right, we are in 1984's Gremlins, a movie with some a little bit of controversy at its core that we'll get to.
Yeah,
along with a little bit of behind the scenes question marks. I won't necessarily say curiosities, but it's a Steven Spielberg production.
Yes, it is.
And Mr. Spielberg finds himself in that early 80s of, I have my hand in the pie, but let's just see how much of my hand is actually in there. And so a little bit of this, and I know it showed up a lot in Poltergeist, of how involved was Steven Spielberg. And so this one I think is a little bit more cut and dry, but still room for controversy. But before we get there, hit us up. Who is our cast of characters?
Our cast of characters, Oz. You could argue there's only a couple that are really of consequence. I'll list off a few here. As you did mention, I'm gonna make just expand just a teeny tiny bit on the people behind the film on this. So in addition to Spielberg being a producer, Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy were also producers on this. So this movie, despite it basically being a glorified B movie, has some major Hollywood powerhouses on board.
Huge.
Yeah, some of the biggest names in Hollywood were on board with producing this. And it was directed by Joe Dante, who previously had done The Howling.
Right, which definitely he brings the horror element to this movie.
And it was written by Chris Columbus, who went on to write and direct all sorts of things. Home Alone, yeah.
He discovered, he's got his own holiday.
Yeah. That he does.
We celebrate Chris Columbus in October.
We celebrate Christmas in honor of
Chris Columbus. Yeah.
Chris Columbus.
Yeah. He's got several of them. But you're right. Like he's not only Home Alone, but the first Harry Potter movie. Like Chris Columbus, I think he did. Did he do Goonies?
He was involved in Goonies. I can't remember if he. I think Richard Donner directed it.
Donner directed it.
I think Columbus may have written it though.
And yet another Spielberg, and I don't think it would be such a weird stigma around Spielberg productions if his directors weren't fully capable. Toby Hooper, Joe Dante, Richard Donner. I mean, those guys, they've got clout.
Yeah, they got chops.
By the time that they produced or they directed the Spielberg movie that they directed, they knew what they were doing. I mean, Donner had Superman and The Omen, and Toby Hooper, of course, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and The Funhouse. So it's like they've made some stuff, and then Spielberg gets in there, and it's almost like, I guess it kind of feels a little bit of like, yes, you guys are in Hollywood, but don't forget this is my town.
Yep.
Like I'm still the guy.
Yeah, and a little bit of the snake eating its own tail kind of thing.
A little bit, but whatever. And so I'm sure they glad hand themselves all the way to the bank with their paychecks.
Oh yeah. So as far as the characters in the movie and the actors portraying those, our lead character is Billy Peltzer, played by the one and only Zach Galligan. Our second Zach Galligan movie here in about a month or so as we hit.
Yeah, I know.
As we hit. Why am I blanking on the movie now, Oz? 1988's Waxworks. There we go. Then I'll also just mention the rest of the Peltzer clan here. We have Rand Peltzer, who's an inventor of sorts.
Is he? Is he?
Sure. He thinks he is.
Yeah.
Played by Hoyt Axton. And then we have Lynn Peltzer, Billy's mom, played by Frances Lee McCain, who shows off her survival skills a little later on.
Oh, I know. I get to that too.
Then we have Kate Barringer, played by Phoebe Cates, Mrs. Kevin Kline.
Yeah.
We have arguably my favorite character in the movie, Ruby Deagle.
I do like a Mrs. Deagle.
Yeah. Played by Polly Holliday, one of the greatest names of all time.
Yeah.
Then we have Gizmo, voiced by Howie Mandel. Stripe, voiced by the one and only Frank Welker.
Yeah.
And then there's some other random characters. I'll just mention a couple actors who also appear in this movie in minor roles. We have a young Corey Feldman.
Very young Corey Feldman. Even my wife, she goes, I forgot he was in this.
Yeah. We have another Judge Reinhold Phoebe Cates collaboration.
Yeah.
Only this time Phoebe Cates doesn't find Judge Reinhold in the middle of
yeah. Well, he's
addressing some needs.
But he is still he's still chasing that white whale. So so he's two movies for those two where he's chasing her down. Like,
yep. Mm-hmm.
He's already fantasized in high school.
So, now he's at grad school or whatever.
Well, no, he's a vice president of a bank. So
at like
associate vice president
24
at 23.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a millionaire by 30.
And then we also have an appearance by Jonathan Banks of Breaking Bad fame.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
as one of the cops.
Yeah, and we can't leave out one of my favorite that guys, Dick Miller.
Yes, as the neighbor, right?
As Mr. Futterman, yeah.
Yes, the neighbor.
Dick Miller shows up in, like, it just feels like virtually everything in the 80s. Like, he's just there. It's just like, we need a guy. And he's like, I'm in. You want to be a garbage man? I'm in. You want to be a foreign car hating neighbor? I'm in.
There you go. All right, that's our character rundown. Oz, what do we got for the plot of Gremlins?
All right, this movie kicks off in a very neon lit Chinatown. Not sure where this Chinatown is. Is it Chinatown?
It's kind of the origin of Blade Runner.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same Chinatown that Springfield is in The Simpsons. Like, is it New York's Chinatown, Chicago's, L.A.? We don't know. It's just Chinatown.
Just Chinatown. That's all you need to know.
So Rand Peltzer he visits this like old curio antique kind of store. He's looking for a Christmas present, but he's also always looking to peddle his wares.
Oh yeah, he is.
He's got the bathroom buddy.
He's always got his sales hat on. Always.
Yeah, he does. And
I love about him.
Yeah, it's really like it really is endearing to his character of like he's just because he's trying to take care of his family and he's looking for a Christmas present for his son. And we see a young man that's, taking him down the stairs to his grandpa's shop. And we walk in there and it is your 80s epitome of what a Chinese man looks like.
Yeah.
It's basically Pai Mei, the Chinese version. But whatever. And so I keep moving myself around because I keep getting a sun streak on my face. So
well, you have that angelic glow about you.
I do. I guess so. And so as he's in there looking around, Rand hears something in the background. It sounds like a little animal or whatever. And he investigates and he finds this small little creature called a Mogwai. Mm-hmm. And he's got to have it. And everything in this shop is for sale, but this Mogwai,
despite the fact that it's on the sales floor.
Yeah, but Mr. Wing, I think, recognizes character in people, and he quickly, nope, that is not for sale. And of course, Peltzer will take no for an answer. He's offering $200, in which the kid is just like, his eyes are massive, like $200. So he tells him, meet me behind the store, and so long story short, Peltzer gets what he wants. The kid gets $200, and he leaves.
Yeah, the kid went behind Grandpa's back.
Yeah, for $200. But he does impart some the instructions for this Mogwai, and there are three simple instructions. One, avoid bright lights. They hate them. Bright light. Two, do not get them wet. They don't like water. And three, and most importantly, never feed them after midnight.
Never.
Now, I feel that most people, not just Americans, but most people, they question why, and that's something that Rand Peltzer did not do. Nor do I know. I don't even know if the grandson would have understood why.
I have a feeling Rand doesn't ask the question why too often, anyways. Like,
no, I don't think so.
Why would someone need one of his inventions, for instance?
Right. Why would you need the bathroom buddy or the smokeless ashtray? Or the orange juicer that somehow gets 6 gallons of orange juice per orange.
I will say that's a pretty good juice to orange ratio.
That is a very good one.
I would say it works incredibly well.
Yeah, it somehow turns every orange into a geyser. But so Rand does not question why. He just says these are the rules, and off he goes. And then we don't know why, but we, of course, will find out because these rules become a red herring for the movie. So we're back home in Kingston Falls, where we get the opening title. Actually, no, they're playing Christmas by a Motown group. And
Darlene Love. I actually looked it up.
Thank you,
because I couldn't remember who did it. Yeah, it was Baby.
It's on my.
Baby,
it's on
Baby
our,
Please Come Home.
Yeah, it's on our, so Baby Please Come Home by Darlene Love, and it's like when the first big pound happens, you expect the title of the movie to show up, but the first big pound of the song happens, and then Steven Spielberg Presents comes on the screen. So let's not lose sight of what's most important in this film.
Spielberg.
Exactly. And then they do bring Christmas in there and Ricky Rialto and his Indiana Jones-esque billboard.
Very Indiana Jones looking billboard.
Yeah. And so I'm sure these are all choices Joe Dante made completely on his own.
Oh, yeah. These are independent thoughts.
Yeah. I think this auburn gradient would look great on this billboard, and nothing says radio host like a man in khakis with a whip. Oh, Spielberg made a movie like that? Well, I wouldn't have guessed it.
Just sheer coincidence.
Oh, sorry. And so so we're now in Kingston Falls, which looks incredible, like the Universal Studios backlot. It looks looks a lot like the town square in Back to the Future. But everything's covered in snow because this is the winter of 1980 something. And, if it snows 6 feet at a time. And so
it's the lake effect.
Right. So we're just we're cutting through town and, we're just seeing these things, just how the town works. The snowplows don't work very well because the streets are still paved in snow. Everybody's working their way around. Billy's on his way to work.
There's a fun little tracking shot. He can't start his car, and then the camera kind of follows him as he's running through the square with his dog,
Barney,
on the way to work at the bank.
Yeah, because I can't. Despite the fact that mom seems to be a stay-at-home mom, so the only real income in this family comes from dad and his inventions.
Which seems to be bringing in a lot of dough.
Yeah, and so Billy and his bank job are carrying the weight of the family, but he can't trust the dog home with mom for some reason, so he takes Barney to work. But yeah, I do like the tracking shot. He's going through town. We see this. We see Mrs. Deagle. She's heading into the. Billy gets
Mrs. Deagle.
Billy gets to work and he just chains, well, not really chains a rope, but he chains Barney up under his desk, and everybody knows the dog's there. Except
there's just a little sliding door cabinet, just shoot.
Nobody really cares.
The dog.
Mrs. Deagle's on the way to the bank because, as the richest person in town, it's like her second home, and it's really one thing I really enjoy, and what we'll call it Spielberg movie, whether I don't care. I really do enjoy his attention to the little details. For example, Mrs. Deagle's on her way into the bank and she gets stopped by this mom and her 2 daughters. And her son and her husband's laid up, and, money's tight and it's Christmas. And she's asking, can we have a little bit more time on the rent? And Deagle, of course, being the miser, the awful lady she is, no, you cannot.
A conservative 80s villain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you cannot.
Fiscally but just conservative 80s villain.
And so I think most lesser directors, producers would have ended this scene with the lady and her kids walking away and Deagle walking into the bank. But in this instance, it hits me every time. Like when the mom and kids walk away, one of the girls says, "Mommy, I'm hungry," and the mom goes, "I am too," and then they just walk off. Like you could tell these people are hurting.
Yeah, they're destitute.
And, you know, they are hurting and trying so hard. They can't even feed their kids, and Deagle doesn't care. Like, and it's like those little comments like that are really what ups like Deagle's villainy. And so Deagle comes into the bank, and she's not there for money purposes. She's there because she's got some giant like porcelain snowman that she keeps out in the yard, which is idiotic.
She's there to shake down both Billy and Barney the dog.
Yeah, so apparently Barney has knocked over the snowman and broke it, and Billy's like, "Well, just tell me what I owe you, and I'll pay for it." She pulls a wicked witch here, and is like, "I don't want money, I want your dog." And
yeah, she does.
You know,
this gets really dark really fast.
Oh, very dark. You know, she's gonna get rid of this dog, and of course Barney,
she wants to kill the dog. She wants to put
that's
it
all
out.
she wants. She just wants to kill the dog.
She shows up to rub this thing in Billy's face and to threaten to kill his dog in the middle of a crowded bank.
Yeah, and she pushes herself to the front of the line in. Yeah. You know, and it's like she's talking about how she's going to do it, and like there's the old man in the next teller that's like, "Well, that'll do it." Like, you know, because everybody in town is afraid of Miss Deagle. And she knows it and like thrives on it. So Barney breaks loose, jumps over the counter, knocks her down. You know, the bank president, who just happens to be Long Duck Dong's grandpa, like in 16 Candles. You know, he and Judge Reinhold, they step in and they threaten Billy, and because it's Miss Deagle, like. Yeah, Miss Deagle, she's faking it. "Oh, my heart, heart," and it's all for show.
She plays a great fake victim.
Yeah, she really does. So, bottom line is, like, Billy's also got it rough, but he gets home from work, and well, not quite yet. I don't think he gets there, not yet. Yeah, does he go to the?
He goes to a bar. With Judge
He goes
Reinhold.
to the bar. Yeah, he goes to the bar, and that's when, like you said, Gerald Hopkins, Judge Reinhold, he shows up and he's kind of lambasting him about, "Hey, look at me, Peltzer. I'm junior vice president at 23. I'm going to be a millionaire by 30. Like
Sure you are, Judge.
Kate, yeah, and Kate happens to be volunteering at the bar, because again, everything seems to be real tight money wise in this town. Yeah. And, the bar, like the bar owner can't really afford to pay her, but he can't afford to pay anybody. So she just volunteers to help because she's a nice person. Yeah. And Billy shows up and nurses a beer and, does his part. And Judge is trying to get her to go home with him. And she's like, I'm not interested. And he's like, just tell your boss, it's not like he could dock your pay. So,
nice guy.
He's nice guy. Real nice guy.
80s banker scumbag.
Of course, he's your yuppie. And so we get Billy goes home, and Dad shows up, and it's kind of a recurring joke that whenever they shut the front door of their house, there's like this coat of arms on the wall, like this family, like this like life-size family crest of like their sword and their swords and shield.
Actual like real swords hanging on the wall next to their front door.
And every time the front door closes, the right one falls down. Every single like. This isn't a Christmas decoration. This is up year round.
Yeah.
Like, they're putting this sword back multiple times a day.
Hey, Oz, if you had a family crest, what do you think your family crest would be?
Oh, good Lord. Probably a Hershey's Kiss or something. It'd be a peanut butter cup with a couple of, like, Twizzlers as the swords behind it. I don't know. How about you?
My 7-year-old is so into the Legend of Zelda.
Oh, you guys
crest,
are set.
Our family crest would be like the Triforce from
you
Zelda.
wouldn't have a choice.
Also with Twizzlers, because Patreon subscriber Melissa L is a big Twizzlers fan. So
yeah, I enjoy a Twizzler. I would argue I'd almost like. I like a Twizzler. I also like the pull and peel Twizzlers.
Yeah, those are good.
But I don't like to pull and peel them. I just
you just like to eat them like you're chewing on like a cable or something.
I do, exactly. It's a malleable cable. But I'm also very underrated. I'm a fan of nubs. I like the cherry nubs.
Now, do you like red vines? That's the question here.
I can't. Yeah, probably. I probably can't distinguish much difference between a Twizzler and a red vine.
I can. I'd take a Twizzler over
I can't,
a red vine.
I've never like had a taste test of the two, so. But I can't say I've eaten many red vines either.
We'll have to do the taste test a la the Jones Cola taste test.
Oh, yeah. Well, this would be a much safer taste test.
No blindfolds or Brussels sprout flavored soda.
Yeah, no blindfolds and no dry heaving in this one. But if we could end it in the same amount of tears, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
And so, so Rand Peltzer shows up and he's got a gift for his son. He comes in and he's all festive and tra-la-la-la-la, and he hands it over.
He's a good dad. He is. And, I like Rand.
He really is. He's a good dad. And let's keep in mind, Billy is old enough to drink at the bar, right?
Yeah.
But yet Billy gets this, so the first thing he does is start shaking it like he's a 7-year-old kid. And Dad's like, "Oh, no, don't do that," because he, so he hears, "Oh, it's a puppy," and of course we get the unveiling. They turn the lights down, but of course, I love this one of these little detail scenes where Rand's like, "Hey, honey, can you dim the lights?" And instead of just going over to turn off a light, she has to go get a remote control. Yeah, because Rand has invented something.
Yeah, some kooky invention.
So she goes and she stands next to the light, pulls out the antenna, this big long antenna on the remote control, standing right next to the light just to dim the light. It's like she's a good wife too. Yeah. Because she makes a comment later on that like she knows Dad's, she knows that his inventions don't really work, but she humors him.
They have a good family. They do. They really do. I really find that endearing about this movie.
And so he gets, opens up Gizmo and just instantly falls in love. And Dad hits him with the rules, you can't do these things, no bright lights and no, don't get them wet and don't feed them after midnight. Of course, Mom gets out a Polaroid, snaps a picture, and it's too bright. The flash is too bright. A little bit of foreshadowing here.
Bright light.
And so, and they call him Gizmo. And so that's where we're at now. Got a new family pet. Barney's a little put out because, again, Barney understands sentences in English because he understood everything Mrs. Deagle was saying, which is why he attacked her. So Barney understands the situation here. Feels a little put out, and it is what it is. So, again, we've mentioned these 3 rules twice now. So it's time. We got to get moving on the story, right?
Yeah, this is where the pace picks up here.
Right. So Corey Feldman comes over, and Billy just happens to be a cartoonist. He wants to start a comic book. Corey Feldman, his best friend, who's like 9.
And again, we've established that Billy can drink legally.
Yes.
So he's old enough. Depending on whatever state this is set in, he's at least 18.
Right. Yeah. He's old enough. And you figure Kate can be a bartender. So, she's got to be old enough to serve alcohol. So, and like Gerald's 23 and he's putting the moves on Kate. So you would think she's at least proximity age to be old enough to serve alcohol and also old enough for a 23-year-old. So granted, it is in 80s. So I would put him probably 21 just to be safe. But so he hangs out with this 9-year-old. But again, it's just Billy's a nice guy.
He is.
I don't think it's like Arrested Development. I just think he's a nice guy. And so, and here it happens. He's working with some watercolors, and Corey Feldman tips over the water and gets Gizmo wet. Uh-oh. And this is what happens. Gizmo gets wet, and then 5 more Mogwai they're like popples. They just pop right out of his back, and they grow like immediately. The gestation period of a Mogwai is apparently just moments.
Yeah.
Because these 2 spawn, these five spawn and they're full size. And apparently they retain a lot of memory from their host. Because they're knowledgeable. They're smart creatures from the get-go.
They're also a little more rambunctious than Gizmo.
Yeah, they're very aggressive, and they've got a leader. These 5 have a leader, and it's not Gizmo. It's Stripe, who has a mohawk of white fur, and is the clear alpha of these 5 new Mogwai. Billy, who is still really good friends with his former elementary school teacher, science teacher, is like, "Oh, I know who's going to be able to know something about this. I'm going to take it to my 6th grade science teacher." now that I'm an adult man. But whatever. Not a local college or not even the high school.
No. So he takes the local elementary school biology teacher.
Right. So he takes one of these Mogwai to his science teacher, Mr. Hansen. And so they do just a couple of droplets of water on this Mogwai, and it creates another Mogwai.
Mm-hmm.
And so Hansen keeps this one. So we're up to 7 now. We've got Gizmo, the 5 spin-offs, and then this new spin-off of the spin-off. So Hansen's going to keep this one and do some experiments because he's a science teacher. That's what science teachers do.
That's what science-ticians do, Wise.
Right. And so movie's moving along. Billy goes home. And, of course, we've broken rule number 1, and we've seen what happens. So it's time to break rule number 2. So we get back home. Stripe and his fellow Mogwai, it's late at night. They're bopping around. Gizmo gets the bed. The other Mogwai have to, share a box.
Yeah, they're like a banana box or something.
Yeah. So they're popping up and down. They're hungry. And Billy's like, no, it's too late. I can't feed you.
Can't break the rules.
Well, then he glances at the clock and realizes, it's only 8:30 or something like that. Because Billy has no self-awareness of time either. Well, the Mogwai have severed the power cord on the alarm clock.
Mm-hmm.
And so somehow it still kept time. It just froze in time. Oh, no, wait, never mind. It froze in time. Of course, here we are in 2022 and everything's digital. No, It's not a digital alarm clock. It's still your analog hour hand, minute hand. So it froze in time, and Billy just glanced at it for a mere 1 second to realize that nothing on this clock is moving. So he goes down and gets him some fried chicken and goes ahead and feeds him. It happens to be dun, 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 after midnight.
Oh no, we broke the rule.
No! So rule number 2 has been broken. As everyone sleeps, these Mogwai form these very alien-like alien movie, like egg pod cocoons. A lot of, they're very drippy, they're very slimy. And so Hansen he steals a candy bar after midnight. Dun, dun, dun. And he also happens to pupate at the same time, the same night. So, which I guess leads me to the question, I know Gizmo. I know Gizmo is the good Mogwai.
Yeah.
But still, why does he have no urge to eat after midnight?
He knows his place. I don't know.
Because apparently, he's still animalistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's instincts are instincts. And these Mogwai have been alive a day and a half. Well, and they're already it's time.
Well, it leads you to wonder, how was Gizmo brought into the world? Was he also spawned this way? Or is there another way that Mogwais?
Right.
Yeah, and where does that, as you said, that aggressiveness come from?
Yeah.
And how come he's not?
Right. Yeah, it's there's just so much here. Just wondering where Mama Mogwai is.
Maybe it was the nature versus nurture kind of thing.
It might be. I think you're right. I think Mr. Wing was onto something back in his little store. So these things form cocoons, and everybody Billy goes to work. Of course, Rand's back out on the road. Mom's home. These things, they hatch, and out of these things come the titular Gremlins. They're even more aggressive. They're mean. They're very reptile looking. They're torturing Gizmo during the day because apparently Billy can trust his dog to behave at work, but he can't trust Gizmo.
I mean, it's not like he made Gizmo his own special cabinet.
That's true. He wasn't prepared for this. And so Hansen, the science teacher, he gets killed by his gremlin.
Yeah, he's dead.
Gets a needle. I don't know what they injected him with, but took a needle. I guess in the original script, he took dozens of needles. I guess when this gremlin killed him, it was a little overboard, and just went to town on him.
Well, the gremlin was mad because the teacher was kind of testing him, and there was that scene where he drew some blood or something from him. and so that was this creature's way of getting back at him. You poked me with a needle.
Yeah. I guess I'm understanding that the gremlin probably just put an empty syringe and pumped air into his blood, into his veins, because I don't remember there being anything in the syringe that he like injected him with.
I mean, it is a science classroom. There's all sorts of chemicals and things.
But it's an elementary science classroom.
This science teacher seems pretty invested in science, Oz.
Right? Yeah, he's got a little Walter White.
Yeah, he does. He just went to the meth stash in the back room.
Yeah, exactly. So he's making highballs in the back. And so one of my favorite scenes, though, is when the gremlins attack Mom.
Yeah. Oh,
Mom's downstairs, like, making Christmas cookies, doing her thing. And these gremlins come down. And basically, they come down from the attic where Billy's room is. And they attack.
Yeah.
And Mom is fierce.
Like, yeah, she is. She comes across as kind of like Susie Homemaker, like that sort of stereotype.
Yeah,
but when she's back more into a corner,
she's more like Xena Warrior Princess. Like she at one point she puts a gremlin in a microwave and lets it explode.
Yeah, she does.
She puts another gremlin into a blender. One gremlin is like attacking her, and she's like fighting it off with a shield, and then another gremlin's in the Christmas tree. I don't know how he got the entire Christmas tree to move while standing in the upper portion of the Christmas tree, but attacks her from the Christmas tree. It's just like these gremlins are bad. Like
they are.
At one point, they string Barney up in Christmas lights, and
poor Barney.
Barney got off pretty lucky considering they literally tried to murder Mom.
Yeah.
And so Billy shows up, and he and Mom dispatch all of the gremlins except for Stripe. Who takes off into town, and he escapes to the local. Or Billy tracks him to the local YMCA.
Mm-hmm. This is the 80s, after all.
Yes, this is the 80s. The YMCA has open doors 24 hours a day, and Stripe just jumps into the swimming pool. Well, we've already seen what happens when a Mogwai gets wet.
Yeah, now we see a little wet.
Yeah, this is fully like cannonballs into, and it just, these things, they go straight to gremlin stage.
When a gremlin gets wet as opposed to a Mogwai.
Right. It passes the pupa stage. It goes straight to spawning gremlins. So now there's this army of gremlins just ransacking through town. Many people are getting injured. I mean, it's just a bunch of little, like a montage of vignettes here.
Yeah. Just chaos everywhere, the entire town. It's like zombies descending on a community.
Oh, for sure. Only they're, these little green sprites that are coming after them. So people are injured, people are killed. Mrs. Deagle stands no chance against these gremlins.
Mrs. Deagle.
They ransack her house. Well, she's got a power chair to get upstairs, and they mess with the circuitry and basically rocket launch her from the power chair outside. And
I love when she opens the door. Like they're all wearing like little cute winter hats, and they're pretending to be Christmas carolers.
They're caroling, And so, it's a fun scene, and it shouldn't be a fun scene because it's absolute carnage.
Yeah, it's they just killed this old woman, but
right, and the things they're doing, like to the Futtermans, and like they ran the tractor through his house. Like these things are just destroying the town. And like you said, the gestation period is like moments. So like at any time, these things can just continue producing.
Yep.
I get one question that just popped in my mind is, it has to be liquid water apparently, because these things are trudging through the snow all night long.
You just took one of my potential huhs.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's valid. Like does snow, like the solid form of water, not impact them? Nor I guess would steam not impact them? Does it have to be in the liquid state?
Yeah, I guess it has to be the liquid state, and it has to be a plot device.
Yes.
Most importantly.
Yeah.
And so Billy tries calling the cops. They're not going to help him because they don't believe him. It's like, have you looked out the window?
Yeah.
He even shows them Gizmo, and they're just like, oh, okay, that's cute. we do get a fun little nod to Gremlins in Goonies when Chunk calls the police and they make some comment about, oh, is this like those little green things that were... so apparently this is Kingston Falls, Oregon.
The same universe.
Yeah. So fun little Spielberg universe here.
The Gremlins verse.
Exactly.
Or it's the GCU, the Gremlins Goonies cinematic
there you
universe.
Go. So Billy rescues, or Kate's at the bar, and she's having, and this is another fun little scene. The amount of work that went into the puppetry of this movie is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's impressive.
And robotics as well. So Kate is trying to entertain all of these gremlins at the bar, and they all have different personalities. You've got like the flasher.
That was my favorite. Like she's serving drinks like they're forcing her to serve them all drinks, and then she just looks over and there's a gremlin in like a tan trench coat, and he just opens it, and just goes
you've got the drag queen gremlin, and you've got like the lounge singer gremlin, like it. I mean, Gremlins 2 gets a lot of attention for just like the craziness of what it was, but like you could argue Gremlins really in this scene really kind of laid the groundwork of the different personalities Gremlins can have. So Billy shows up to save her. She kind of saves herself because she realizes when she's taking pictures that the flash from the Polaroid is going to put him away. Well, she first finds it when she goes to light the cigarette for one of the gremlins, and he backs away from the flame because it's too bright. And so then she gets the camera out and realizes that the flash is also too bright. And then Billy shows up with his headlights on because his car finally starts working. And that's enough time to get her to run. So they go hide out in the bank, where we get a scene here.
Yeah, I was debating whether to put this as a good or a bad. Like, I don't think I put it as either. Right. But I was thinking about it. Like, I both like the scene and don't like it at the same time.
Right. And Spielberg was the same way. He really didn't want the scene in there.
Yeah.
But he wanted it to be Joe Dante's call, and Dante left it in. And so this whole scene where Kate's almost like this is like her hold my beer moment. like, oh, you think this is rough? Let me tell you about a Christmas.
Because to this point, Kate has been kind of humbuggish about Christmas.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not like villainy humbuggish, but she's just I'm not a big fan of it.
Right. I just don't like Christmas, but I don't want to tell anybody. Well, she opens up that to Billy here that when she was 9 years old, her father went missing on Christmas Eve and stayed missing through the holiday. And it was several days later when they decided to do something with the chimney that they smelled something, and they found his corpse trapped in the chimney, dressed as Santa.
Yeah, he slipped in the chimney and broke his neck, and then
and then just
rotting there,
got lodged there for several days. Which I guess it's good they didn't light a fire sooner. And so he
chestnuts roasting,
chest and nuts roasting on an open fire. And so he was trying to surprise them by climbing down the chimney. I'm going to go out and say Kate's dad's not real intelligent, but regardless, she lost her dad. Yeah. And so, Billy's like, oh, well, that sucks too.
Yeah.
Like, back to our current problem.
Yes.
So
that reminds me of our discussion on empathy from last week.
Yeah.
I'm sad because you're sad. Well, right. I guess back to the Gremlins.
Yeah. So it's like it just, I mean, it makes sense. It gives Kate some depth. But it also, at the same time, feels real shoehorned in.
Yeah.
Of like, well, we can't ignore why Kate's in a bad mood. You coulda, but and so she's dealing obviously with some PTSD, and so that's how she's discovered. Honestly, that one scene is the reason why my kids have not seen this movie.
Yeah. That's you're not wrong with that, yeah.
And so I've told my wife, I'm like, I am willing, because we want him to see it. We feel like this would be a
fun intro kind of.
Yeah. That so I told her, I'm like, I can load it into Final Cut and I could slice that scene out.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't take away from the movie.
No, you're not missing any plot points.
Right. And my kids aren't going to be like, this feels like something skipped. No, they're...
I want to know more about Kate's backstory. Give me some exposition here.
Dad. that was a good movie, Dad, but one question I have is, what was with Kate? So Billy and Kate, after their little dialogue in the bank, they leave the bank and realize that the town is like silent, and the Gremlins are nowhere to be found. And they find them, though. They find them there at the theater watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Because I'll get to it in my 3, 2, 1s.
Yeah.
So they realize we've got them all trapped. They're all here. This is our moment. So they sneak down to the basement, open up the natural gas line, because Billy is really good at this stuff.
Yeah, apparently he knows all about this.
I know where this stuff's at.
In addition to working at the bank, he's also a labor union apprentice.
Yeah. He's an engineer. He helped build that theater
from the ground up.
And so I don't know. When Billy at the beginning of the movie passed the marquee of the theater, they were playing A Boy's Life and Watch the Skies. The false titles for E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So yet another Spielberg reference. So apparently this theater had a copy of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs laying around. And the Gremlins knew how to load the projector. And they knew all the words to the like again, it's like, how? But again, I'll get to it later.
Yeah.
So every gremlin is trapped in this theater except Stripe, because Stripe got hungry and they're out of popcorn, but he can read. So we saw across the street the word candy in like the Montgomery Wards.
Yeah, he went to the Montgomery Wards.
And so Stripe left, and they do successfully trap all the gremlins in the theater, and they blow the theater up, incinerating all of them.
They're all gone,
Stripe,
except
and so
Stripe.
We come down to our third act here, where they realize Stripe is escaped, so it is now one gremlin versus Billy, Kate, and Gizmo, and Barney.
Can't forget Barney
and Mom and whoever else wants to join in. So Billy goes all like, "We're gonna get this guy." He goes all Conan the Barbarian here.
Grum.
He gets himself. He finishes, breaks the window. Montgomery Ward. He goes in after Stripe. And so they're following Stripe around the department store. Another real cool scene of, Stripe apparently has, while waiting for them, has patched into the inner store video feed.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like back in the 80s when camcorders were a huge thing.
Yeah.
And they would you would go to a Wards or a Sears or something, and they would have a camcorder doing live, and so you'd walk by and you would see yourself up on the wall of TVs.
Yeah, and you thought it was cool. So Stripe has done that elsewhere. Billy's got a baseball bat. Apparently it's the thickest baseball bat known to man, because a chainsaw cannot cut through it. Stripe's throwing saw blades at him,
he is
attacking him with a chainsaw, and he's going to town. And so they're Stripe and Billy are in this fight. Gizmo jumps in a Barbie dream car,
which is a very, very cute scene.
It is a cute scene. Did they make them that small that were also self-powered? Because
I think they were taking some liberties there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, maybe Gizmo had wedged the remote control into the steering panel.
That's it. Yeah, Gizmo had the remote control in the passenger seat.
Yeah,
it was controlling it from that. And so it's a race to, again, it's starting to be dawn.
Mm-hmm.
And Stripe finds himself in the garden department, and there's a bubbling fountain going on.
Oh, water.
So he's going to start this whole nightmare over again. He jumps into the pool, but not before Gizmo shows up and saves the day, and opens a skylight accidentally, which exposes Stripe to the sunlight, and it kills him in a actually a pretty gruesome kind of gross scene.
Yeah.
I really liked the deflating skeleton thing they had going.
Yeah, that was fun.
And so Stripe is now dead. They've ended the threat. Local news reports show up the next day wondering what's all happened. Again, somehow Mr. Wing knew where the Peltzers lived. He shows up on their doorstep to get Gizmo back. And he criticizes the Peltzers. Mm-hmm. And he basically criticizes, Western culture in general. Yeah. With just like, this is why we can't have nice things. Because, humans screw it up every time. Anytime nature does something wonderful, humans just destroy it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a tendency to do that.
Yeah, we do. We are terrible at that. I could have thrown I almost threw the Matrix into this as well.
Okay.
Because of Agent Smith's speech on how humans are a virus, and the Matrix-like skill that all these gremlins seem to have when they're born, like information is just piped straight into their brain. They don't have to learn anything. They just know how to change the reel on. They know all the Christmas carols, and
there was that scene where Stripe just looks at the camera and goes, "I know kung fu."
Right, there was that scene. They know how to load and fire a gun, and so Mr. Wing turns to leave. First, Gizmo wants to say bye to Billy, so we get a nice little Howie Mandel bye, Billy. And that's it. Then Mr. Wing leaves and walks towards the map painting in the foreground, in the background.
Through the map painting.
Right. He's all Roadrunner-esque, just runs right through it. And so, but he tells Billy that one day you may be ready, and when you are, Gizmo will be waiting for you.
Sequel.
Yeah, no kidding. And so there we go. There is 1984's Gremlins.
There it is, folks. Well, hey, at this point in the movie, Oz and I give our own unique rating to the flick in question, in this case, 1984's Joe Dante helmed Gremlins. Oz, how would you rate this flick?
I'm going to give this one... I'm going to give this one eight Mrs. Deagle foreclosures. Or evictions. 8 Mrs. Deagle evictions.
Okay. I was also going to go on the Deagle scale.
Oh, well. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Again, I like the challenge sometimes. Let's go with, I'm going to give this 78. Let's see. Let's go 78 adorable Mogwais.
There you go. I almost went the Mogwai route, and I thought, that's too obvious. I'm going to go something else.
Yep. 78 adorable Mogwais.
So I'm going to give this 8 Judge Reinholds.
All right, next up, folks, we got Outside Insight, and where Oz and I have scoured the interwebs looking for reviews of the film in question that we find funny. And we bring you those reviews for some yucks and some laughs. So, Oz, what is your Outside Insight this week?
Oh, this is a half-star review by Socks.
Half-star?
I do not ever want to know this person. This review was left on December 19th of just last year, so less than a year ago. A half-star review. Absolutely awful in every way. Highlights. Keep that in word. Okay. Highlights. Racist origin story for the Gremlins. It's a highlight. The manic pixie dream girl's tragic backstory is that her dad accidentally killed himself dressed as Santa in their chimney, and they found him weeks later. What? The special.
Are you sure it was what instead of what?
What? The special effects ripped off from Alien. Not even about Christmas. Narrator wasn't there for 95% of the actual story, so why is he telling it? Also, the narrator / dad has 0 redeeming qualities. He actually just sucks. Those are the highlights.
Those are the highlights.
This person says, highlights. These are my favorite things about the movie.
I like the
fact I take anything good from
dad
this.
Sucks.
Yeah, he just sucks. But I really like the racist origin story for the Gremlins. Technically, I think he's looking for the racist origin story of the Mogwai. I don't even remember there being an origin story for the Mogwai.
No, there's not.
But if you wanted to get technical, the origin story for the Gremlins was let him eat after midnight.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, that's the origin right there.
That's so racist.
Not too complicated.
No. So, and there was nothing about Phoebe Cates that said manic pixie dream girl. Like,
no.
Whatever. So, sorry, Socks. You're wrong. Half star. How about you? What's your outside insight?
My outside insight comes from the Internet Movie Database. This is a 2 out of 10. Why on earth does this movie have a 7.2? This is from FM Esselveen. Whatever. Left 5 years ago, December 2017.
I read his stuff often.
Yes, yeah, it's got some great fan fiction that he does. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Awkwardly funny sometimes. I guess, but I honestly thought it was a spoof movie. Maybe if you are an old grandpa, you'll enjoy this.
An old grandpa.
Old grandpa. This was painful to watch at the nursing home where I volunteer, and I would not recommend it whatsoever.
Recommend the movie or recommend volunteering at a nursing home?
Yes.
Where you're surrounded by old grandpas.
Old grandpas. Maybe if you're an old grandpa at the nursing home I volunteer at, you'll enjoy it.
Oh, that's fun. Old grandpa.
Old grandpa. And that, folks, brings us to our signature segment, the one that's hauling in all of our new Patreon subscribers, the 3-2-1, in which Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the movie in question. In this case, Gremlins. Oz, what are your 3 goods?
My first one is the mom versus Gremlins scene.
Yes.
I've always loved that scene. Always loved that
that's
scene.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
It's fierce because really up to that point, like you said, mom was she's a mom.
Yeah, like a 50s housewife.
Yeah, I'm going to stay home and take care of my family and support my husband and
make gingerbread cookies.
But it's like, do not cross a scorned woman because this woman is fierce. And so, yeah, the mom versus Gremlins scene. Love that scene. Always have. 2 is, and I mentioned earlier, the background detail.
Yeah.
There was one scene towards the end where there was a radio playing and Rockin' Ricky Rialto was still on the air. And he had said the Marines are standing by with fire hoses to help with the threat, which is like, again, just that minute little detail of like, oh no, like that is going to be the worst thing you could do in this situation. But they don't know any better.
Yep.
And so like the like the little aside that the mom and the daughters had and this, and just like those little background details that don't hurt the story if you miss them, but they do enhance your experience a bit if you're paying attention. So I really do enjoy those. And then I really like the message as well, because I'm a believer, despite being part of the human race, that that the message of humans just always seem to screw things up, and not typically on an individual level.
No.
And we've talked before about the power of groupthink and mob mentality, et cetera, et cetera.
The social psychology of it, yes.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that. But just by and large, we've really screwed things up. But but we also write all the books, so we get to tell each other we don't. But yeah, we seem to be bad for the environment.
For the war, against the war. Who cares? 100 episodes.
So those are my 3 goods. What are your 3?
Oh, my 3 goods. Let's see. I love just the family dynamic of Lynn and Rand and Billy. Like they are a good family. They love each other.
They are.
Lynn is just so dedicated. She knows her husband's not a great inventor, but she goes through the motions because she knows that he enjoys it and she wants to support him. And she doesn't want to, she doesn't want to be the one who kind of, sucks the air out of the room. And
right.
It's just, they just have a good, genuine, loving family. And it's great.
Yeah. Plus she knows Billy's the one really bringing in the cheddar. So
yeah. Well,
as long as you don't lose your job, Billy.
Yeah. They raised a good son. He's out, Rand is out trying to find the perfect gift for him. And it's just, it's a good, wholesome, just well-balanced, loving family unit. So I really like that. The second one, I love Mrs. Deagle. She's 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 just 80s, again, I mentioned it before, 80s, fiscally conservative, villain. She's butting her way to the front of the line at the bank. She's threatening to kill dogs. She's kind of like a local real estate mogul. A lot of the best 80s villains, like there's always money involved. It's I'm trying to out finance something, or I'm trying to take the local youth center, or there's like a real estate transaction or finances, and then even just the way they dispatch her is just great. My last good is just the individual antics of the Gremlins, and just how fun they are. They each have their own personality. We kind of mentioned this before with the bar scene, with them playing poker and singing, and there's like the drunks, and there's the flasher back in the movie theater. There's just, they all have their own personality. It makes the movie more fun. And yeah, it doesn't add to the plot or anything like that, but that's not the point of a movie like this. The point of a movie like this is just to have fun with it, and having each of these characteristics in these Gremlins really does kind of make the most of that.
All right, my first bad is the Kate in the bank. My dad died in the chimney scene. Think that scene we mentioned earlier by itself could really get some young viewers to question things that they may be experiencing around the holidays. And so the little Harry, and like I mentioned earlier, the only reason my kids have yet to see this movie. And my second one is another reference that I made about how the newly born Gremlins have this like Matrix level intelligence of everything they know how to do from scratch. Running movie projectors, applying makeup, driving tractors. They know how to read.
They know it all.
They're just very, very knowledgeable creatures from the get-go. And so it's an overreach on my part. It's just, a finding two bads kind of thing. But it is a little silly if you want to question anything. I'm like, how do you know how to do on with this stuff? So those are my two. What are yours?
My two bads, my first one is just 80s cops are dumb. They don't believe anyone. They take their citizens for granted, and it's just it's almost humorous to a point, but I don't think it helps that profession too much. It doesn't exactly help the reputation. But yeah, just dumb 80s cops. Like, okay, we get the point. My other bad is that the plot of this movie is really, really thin. Again, and I'm kind of splitting hairs here. It's not supposed to be this big, intense plot, but there's really not a whole lot of story to this movie. Again, nor does there have to be, but yeah, there's not a whole lot of story to be told there, and I guess that's okay. But if somebody's looking, for this intricate, layered plot, you're not going to find it with Gremlins. So, Oz, what's your one, huh?
All right, my is I think one that a lot of people could just question on their own, and it is of the three rules, you've got no bright lights because it obviously kills them. Don't get them wet because we see them multiply, and then you don't feed them after midnight because they turn into gremlins. What time can you feed a Mogwai then? Because it's technically always after midnight. So I think a better rule would have been like don't feed them before 6 a.m. or something like that. But don't feed them after midnight. I'm surprised. That's probably why Gizmo was the only Mogwai left, is because the rest of them died from malnutrition and starvation. So that's my huh. Is when can you start feeding a Mogwai? What's your huh?
I guess it really depends on what time zone you're in, doesn't it? So my huh, Oz, is in this town, if someone doesn't like your pet, does that just give them the authority to put it down? Like, that seems pretty cruel and kind of against the law. Mrs. Deagle doesn't like Barney. Okay, you're allowed to not like your neighbor's dog. That doesn't give you permission to kill it. So I thought that seemed a little odd, that she would somehow have the authority to just, I'm going to take your dog and put it down, and nobody's going to stop me at all. So there's that. That's my huh, Oz.
Before we move into the closure here, I think it's probably fair, because I know, Curtis, I know you can hear me, but we have been struggling with some technical difficulties for these last couple of minutes. Basically, starting with the end of my goods. it's we've lost kind of our video feed here. So if the the signature segment of today's show seems very one-sided, it's because we're literally trying to back and forth this without the ability to see nor hear. I cannot see nor hear Curtis, so he's kind of letting me know when it's time to move on. So we apologize for listeners, or if you're a new listener, that we've had some technical difficulties, and once you've been recording for an hour, you don't really want to just start over. So I'm going to try and piece this together the best we can, but I'm going to leave this piece in there just so that loyal listeners don't wonder what went on that week. And so that's it for Gremlins. To kick off Is It Christmas movie. I guess we need to get to this, and of course I won't be able to hear it until I get to the download and the editing, but I guess raises the question, Curtis, do you consider Gremlins a Christmas movie? Provide your answer and let me know when you're done so that I can provide my side.
I think of all the movies we're doing this month, I think this one leans into Christmas the most. There's holiday music, there's holiday festivities, there's mention of Santa. I believe that this does meet the qualifications of a Christmas movie. I'll also add in right here, as Oz and I are kind of piecing this together, with our technical difficulties, it's a good thing we have that new Patreon money rolling in right now, courtesy of Aaron A. and Mandy K. So thank you for keeping the show on its feet with that injection of funds. Oz, what do you think about Gremlins as a Christmas movie?
So, I definitely consider Gremlins a Christmas movie. We've got Baby Please Come Home, a great Christmas song to kick off the title. Yes, it takes place in the Christmas season, but come on. Like, from the intro, Rand's looking for a Christmas present for his kid. This whole movie stems across the Christmas present for his kid. The mom versus Gremlins attack is done to Do You Hear What I Hear, as she's making Christmas cookies. Corey Feldman's character works at a Christmas tree farm. Deagle's carrying around a giant snowman around Christmas. The mom and the kids are asking for an extension on their rent because it's Christmas. There's just, Christmas is too much injected into this film to say it's not a Christmas movie. This movie definitely relies on Christmas. And I guess for me, the litmus test is, would this movie be the same if you placed it anywhere else in the year? And I say no. I say it just doesn't work because there would be no real plot reason. You'd have to completely invent a whole different reason to get Billy the Mogwai. Yeah, you could go with his birthday, but it just doesn't have the same clout as the Christmas gift. And so, yes, I definitely consider Gremlins a Christmas movie. So with that, because you can hear me and I can't hear you, why don't you go ahead and take us out? Tell us what we got next week, and tell listeners where they can find us and all that other fun stuff.
Well, Oz, next week as we continue, Is It a Christmas Movie Month? We're going to go back to 1987 with a director whose name we mentioned before, Richard Donner's Lethal Weapon, starring Mel Gibson, the movie that arguably elevated Mel Gibson to the A-list, as well as Danny Glover and some other great 80s actors as well. So next week we'll take on Lethal Weapon and also evaluate, is it a Christmas movie? So folks, you can find us on all your favorite social media feeds. We've got the website. You can watch us if you want to see our handsome mugs on YouTube as well. So folks, join us next week as we continue with Is It a Christmas Month here on Let's Talk About Flicks. On behalf of my partner Oz, I am Curtis, and we will see you next week, folks.